Welcome to Frances Reads Her Bible. My apologies that today's one is very late. I misplaced my phone. Luckily, I was able to retrieve it. It took some hours, but here we are. So I'll be moving on to Genesis chapter 22. And Genesis 22 is about God's tests of Abraham, or God testing Abraham. So sometime later, God tested Abraham. He called to him, Abraham, and Abraham answered, Yes, here I am. Then God told him to take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. There on a mountain that I will show you, offer him as a sacrifice to me. What I've learned from the first verse of this chapter is sometimes God will test us to know if we have idols in place of him. See, in verse 2, God said, Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love so much. God had to tell him, whom you love so much. God wanted to see if he'd made Isaac an idol. If he'd made having, because remember, it took him 25 years from the age of 75 to 100 before he could get his son Isaac. And now he has Isaac, he has a son, the one thing he looked for his whole life, and he loved him so much. And God now tells him, Go, take this son you love and go and sacrifice him. I'm just imagining, I think sometimes God will test us or has tested us to see if we do have idols, if we love certain things or certain people more than we love Him. And this was what God wanted to test. That's what I believe. And then early the next morning, Abraham cut some wood for the sacrifice, loaded his donkey, and took Isaac and two servants with him. They started out for the place that God had told him about. On the third day, Abraham saw the place in the distance. Then he said to the servants, Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there and worship, and then we will come back to you. Abraham did not tell his servants, Oh, I'm going to sacrifice Isaac. He didn't even tell Isaac, Oh, I'm going to sacrifice you. He didn't ask God questions. What do you mean? The same son, after how many years? You promised me this son, and I tell him to go and sacrifice him. I'm, I think I might have done that. Many of us would have done that. Uh-uh, this same son, how then do you intend to give me descendants? But I believe Abraham, this is where Abraham had faith that this God, took me from my father's household, in the land of Haran, took me to the land of Canaan, has made me extremely wealthy, promised me a son, and now I have a son through Sarah, who's been barren till the age of 90. And this God made it possible. He told me so many times, and He made it come to pass. So, what's this one son that He can't give me more? I'm sure that was Abraham's thoughts at that time. But man, so many of us would have questioned God. Like, what do you mean? After 25 years, now this I'm seeing him now. He wants. But Abraham knew if he said it and he wants to take this son, he will give me again. Imagine you asking God for wealth and God making it possible for you to have hundreds of millions of naira. Like now, maybe you have 200 million naira in your accounts and landed property here and there, and God tells you, Go, take all that money I gave you, that 200 million in your accounts, the house, the land, sell everything and give it to this church. And have nothing in your accounts. Hey, I'm just imagining the conversations some of us, even me, I would have like, wait, what? How do you intend for me to eat? But Abraham had gone through many battles, many years of waiting, and he saw that promise God made to him. So he understood if God can provide this son after me not even believing I could have a son, and he wants me to sacrifice the same child, he can give me more. Maybe he wants to give me triplets through Sarah now. So Abraham made Isaac carry the wood for the sacrifice, and he himself carried a knife and live coals for starting the fire. As they walked along together, Isaac spoke of, "Father." He answered, "Yes, my son." Isaac, Isaac asked, "I see that you have the coals and the wood, but where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" And Abraham answered, "God himself will provide one." And the two of them walked on together. Abraham didn't tell him, "Oh, God has told me to sacrifice you. I'm going to kill you." God indeed had provided, because God was the one who provided Isaac. And Abraham had faith that, yeah, if God gave me this child, if God wants him, God will provide more. God will provide. God provided this one, and God will keep providing. I believe that was what was running through Abraham's mind. God will provide one. So on they went. And then, when they came to the place which God had told him about, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. He tied up his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he picked up the knife to kill him. Well, I give props to Isaac. No matter how old Isaac was, be he 5, 6, 10, 20, because the timeline for the age wasn't given. He's been placed, he's seen sacrifices happen so many times. And now he's been placed on the altar. He didn't say a word. He just trusted his father and obeyed his father so much. He just waited. He even saw the knife being picked up. I don't know what was going through Isaac's mind at that time, but he loved his father so much. Like, "Ah, my father can't kill me." He just stayed there. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." And Abraham answered, "Yes, here I am." I give props to Isaac. This Isaac was an obedient child who loved his father, and he knew his father loved him. He trusted him. And the angel said, "Don't hurt the boy or do anything to him." He said, "Now I know that you honor and obey God, because you have not kept your only son from him." And Abraham looked around and saw a ram caught in a bush by its horns. He offered that as a sacrifice in place of his son, and he named the place "The Lord Provides." Just imagine, like I said, Abraham had gone through a lot with God. I knew this God provided this son. If he said sacrifice him, he will give me triplets, quadruplets, four sons, in fact, through Isaac, through Sarah. And he didn't question God. He didn't go into an argument with God. He didn't doubt God. Like I said, it took him 25 years. He'd gone through a journey, a process of learning to trust God and knowing that God will always provide. Even when God said, "This only child you waited 25 plus years for, kill him," he still did it. He didn't question God. Come to a place of having so much faith and trust and love in God that God came first, not that thing he wanted. Well, I don't know. I think it might have been hard for me. But like I said, Abraham had gone through a process. Even those of us who've gone through a process of 20, 30 years of working with God, we might still have questioned God, gone through arguments, fear, doubts, but Abraham was a father of faith. He did it. And God was pleased. Pleased that Abraham loved him more than the one thing he'd always wanted. You know, loved him above riches, loved him above so many things, and was obedient to him. Then the angel of the Lord, repeated that um covenant, the promise God made to him. "I will do this, I'll richly bless you because you did this and I did not keep your only son from me." He told him, "This is the Lord is speaking, not me. I promise I'll give you," as he made the same promise, repeated it. For this thing you've done, I'm impressed. All because you obeyed my command." Then Abraham went back to his servants and they went back went together to Beersheba where Abraham settled. I'm just, wow, that test was, mm, that was a lot. Imagine wanting a family for so long, a husband, children, or wife, children, wealth, and life is happy and all that. And God tells you, I'm going to take your husband or your wife and your children away from you. I want them. Anyway, so 20 talks about the descendants of Nahor. Remember Nahor? Nahor is Abraham's brother, Abraham's elder brother. You know, they separated in the land of Haran. So Milcah had born 8 children to his brother Nahor. The most important of them, if you ask me, is Bethuel, who is Rebecca's father, who we're going to meet later on. And Bethuel was the last. So we had Uz, Buz, Kemuel, Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. So Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's father. And then Reuma, Nahor's concubine, bore 4 other sons to him. Those were descendants of Nahor. This chapter is about idols and trusting God. I think it speaks to me on so many levels. Like, Frances, what are your idols? Is it money? Is it the ones for this, the ones for that? Is it this or that? So I think we should all ask ourselves what our idols are. What have we placed highly above God that will be hard for us to do away with? If God says, "Oh, Frances, give me all the money in your account, Frances, cut your hair, Frances, because I've invested so much in this hair. I love my hair." You know, Frances, stay away from social media for a year. Frances, don't do this. What is that idol that if God asks me or asks you to do away with, that will be very hard for you? Some of us, our hands are attached to our phones. Our phones have become idols. We're always on TikTok, on social media. If we go without our phone for a day, to feel like we've died. Like, what is that thing that has become an idol in place of God? God is a jealous God, and the first commandment is about having no other gods before Him, idolatry. So, what is that idol? That thing that will be hard for you to do away with if God asks you to do away with it. And how much do we trust God, have faith in God, and in His provision for us? Well, I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. And as always, I'm not a pastor. Goodbye.